Out there raising the flag.
Okay, and we are live.
Good evening, Somers, and welcome to the Somers Town Board Work Session of Thursday, April 1st, 2021. If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the
To the
flag
flag
of
the United States of America,
and
and to the republic for which it stands,
stands
one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
Visible.
liberty
liberty and justice.
for all. Thank you, and be seated. Hey, we're going to start tonight's meeting on a high note. And this has to do, yeah, no pun intended there.
I didn't know what you were going into, Rick.
Right. I'm not gonna announce that recreational marijuana is legalized. But what I am gonna say is, I'd like to take the opportunity on behalf of the town board and the membership of New York State Town Clerks Association, like to extend our congratulations on being awarded. This is to Patty, our clerk, Patricia Calber. We would like to extend our congratulations being awarded your registered municipal clerk recertification. And I have a certificate that
Nice.
and I will be handing that to you tomorrow morning, but in the interim, here it is for all to see.
It's virtual.
We are in very good hands at our clerk's office.
The best. She's the best.
Congratulations.
Way to go, Patty.
Congratulations, Patty.
I'm so glad they sent it to you. Usually at conference I would get it and I was waiting for it in the mail. Now I know
No,
where it is.
I got it. I'm not giving it up until I see you in person. Okay, so with that said, and congratulations, I'll move on to I'm going to open our public comment. Anyone, excuse me, I'll make a motion to open public comment.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Okay, so Paul or Patty or Tom,
I have nothing.
okay. Okay, so as has been our practice, we'll keep our public comment open throughout the meeting. We'll close it at the end for those folks, trying to get in and having difficulty. They can always call my office, contact my office, which you all do routinely. Not all of you, but a good portion of you. Our doors are always open. Okay, so we'll move along to the first agenda item this evening, which is the Town of Somers COVID update. I'll start with some state statistics. In New York State, beginning of the week, there are numbers of positive COVID cases rose to 1,843,562 cases. Overnight, it was 7,622. I mean, those are staggering numbers. I know it's for the whole state, but it's still staggering. And fatalities, we're still not at the place where we don't have any fatalities. Over the last week, there were 466 fatalities in New York State, bringing the total to 40,390 fatalities in New York State. On a county level, overnight positive cases, we had 459, brings our total cases to 118,964. Fatalities in Westchester County over the last week were 23, bringing Westchester's total fatalities to 2,194. I've been asked by a number of constituents, can I provide more information on, where people are getting COVID and where are the clusters. And they noted that I don't give Somers fatality reports. I do not have that information. That information is not supplied by Westchester County. And as far as clustering, I can report that the shared file that I get every day is a smattering of all our communities throughout the town, all our enclaves, multiple households. So active currently in Somers, we have 132 active cases. We have 10 new ones as of yesterday. Prior to that, the day before, I think it was 15 new cases, which is a little disturbing. A week ago, we were down to single digits as far as new cases. But there seems to be a surge going on, not only in Somers, but throughout New York State and the country.
Is there a sense that, you would think that the younger population, the unvaccinated population may be the source? Is there any narrative around that?
It's really speculative at this point. What most of the professionals are saying, it could be a combination of that and these new variants, which are more contagious, and which the youth going and mixing and having parties and bringing the infection home to their family circle, plus the new variant. That's what we're seeing. So there's still the need for washing hands, wearing masks, social distancing. People want to see regulations relieved, and the basketball nets put back up on the hoops throughout the county. The only type of basketball recreation that's really being authorized is that run through school systems or athletic programs where there are coaches on the court who can supervise, the mask wearing and hand washing and things like that. We can't do that as a local municipal recreation department. We can't put up our rims and nets and have someone there monitoring, the safety of the people playing basketball. After coming this far and doing what we have to do to loosen activity up and open it up to that type of exposure is something that we're not prepared to do. So hopefully that answers some of the questions that have been coming into my office regarding statistics and type of activities that the town is permitting.
I think that it is really confusing to most people, and especially if you're younger, because so much information comes out in the news every day that, wow, everything's getting better. People are getting vaccinated. This is going to be fantastic. States totally open up with no masking requirements. Full houses, they are saying, at sporting events in some states. And you have that. And yet at the same time, you've got officials saying there are troubling signs, as you pointed out here in Somers, even numbers going up, maybe not a lot, but they're not going down. They're plateauing wherever you are and going up in some cases. And then you've got Europe looking at a third surge, and perhaps because of the different variants, and that some are even worse than others. Right now, it looks like the British variant is causing a lot of these infections in Europe, but the Brazilian has hit this country, but only less than 100. So I think the news is very confusing. And of course, the obvious answer is don't get carried away. You might be having a 10-point lead going in the fourth quarter, but you can't stop playing defense. And same thing here. The obvious, as we all know, you have to continue wearing masks, stay away from crowded places, social distance wherever possible. Maybe schools can open at 3-foot distance between students, and maybe it's 6 foot. And at some point, it's going to open, but it is very confusing. But we all know you'd want to side on being too careful, not careful enough. So it is confusing.
There's an impatience about,
There
wanting to
is.
see more numbers like you were referencing, but you just have to follow best practices. I mean, I always look at the schools and they follow best practices and they have had the best results, even
Yeah.
through the worst of it. But it would certainly be helpful to understand the numbers, more currently and see what's happening.
It's almost a contradiction. You have a vaccine out there, more people are getting vaccinated while we're experiencing a resurgence of infection. It's contraindicated. And really the only way to looking for explanations, are, the youth not practicing social distancing, coming back to their families, and the variants that are more highly contagious. So, we just can't drop our guard, this late in the game.
It seems to me unsubstantiated, just from people I know, and you run into, once it gets into someone's household, it runs through the household. So
Yeah.
1 turns into 5 and 6. And, it's sort of happening now and recent. So we're in this transition period. It's hard to tell, where we're at.
And look at it. Speaking of schools, look at the number of high school football teams, since we're in the middle of football season in April. But look at the number of high school football teams who are canceling games. This week, you probably have about 10 schools that have had to cancel their games. You have schools who they're available to play. The opponent they were going to play isn't available to play. They're out just looking for matchups to get games. But you've got a fair number, higher than during basketball season. Now you got a lot more kids, of course, and you've got kids piling on each other in football that you wouldn't have in basketball, but they are outside too. So whether that's a sign of something or not, but it is a bit surprising how many teams have had to cancel games in the last week or two.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
True. So let's keep our guard up, Somers. Wear masks, social distance, wash your hands. We'll
Try to get
through it
vaccinated.
and get vaccinated. Exactly. Okay, our next item on our agenda is our annual MS4 report. This has to do with water quality protection. As you know, probably about 5 years ago, we passed MS4 regulations requiring every resident to pump out their septic systems every 5 years. And, as a way of improving groundwater quality and protecting the watersheds. So, Paul, can you allow me to share my screen?
Yep, no problem. All right, you should be all clear.
Okay, can everyone see that?
Nope.
Not yet.
No.
So supervisor, just pull up the either slide or whatever document you're looking to share, and then you got to click share one more time.
Okay, on the Zoom screen?
Yeah, so right on the bottom, it says share screen. So you'll just pull up the document and then you just got to hit share one more time.
Okay, so when I call up the document, that screen goes away.
Yeah.
There I go. I think that's it.
Yep. There you go.
Okay. All right. Okay, so this is our annual Phase 2 stormwater report. Okay, pardon me while I figure out which way to go with this. Go down. Okay. Okay, so Somers hydrology. we have the distinct privilege of living within 4 different watersheds that have been designated by New York City, Amawalk, New Croton, Croton Falls, Muscoot Basin, 12 sub-watersheds, 66 stream miles, 3 planned lake communities with Lake Lincolndale, Lake Purdy's, and Lake Shenorock. So the different areas of the community have different water quality concerns. Shenorock, Muscoot River, phosphorus, bacteria and wetland. The 4 watershed basins are phosphorus restricted. Croton watershed, phosphorus. And there are many water bodies on the state priority water body list due to concerns with pathogens like metals and nutrients. Water bodies are also listed on the New York State DEC list of impaired waterways. So the phase 2 stormwater requirements require us to continue with public education and outreach, public participation and involvement, checking for illicit discharges, detection and elimination, construction site runoff control, post-construction runoff, and pollution prevention and good housekeeping. Topics: construction site, illicit discharges, green infrastructure, better site design, low impact development, phosphorus, silt, and sediment. Target audience are residential, contractors, developers, general public, boards, and committees. So our planning board is very much involved in this. Open Space Committee is very much involved with this as well. Public education and outreach. I don't have to say this has been a very challenging year for all of us. Training of construction site operators. 0 were trained this year. There were very little operations out there. Kiosks and displays. We had no presentations out in the community, nor TV spot, cable access. And like I said, most of this has to do with construction sites and managing those. And materials are available in the Somers Townhouse and the library and on the town's website. Evaluating, measuring progress, number of applications now including low impact development, better site design elements is increasing. So we're seeing when developers come in, they are looking for less impactful technologies. Somers Crossing is a good example where they have geothermal heating and cooling, which is less impactful to the environment. We have information pamphlets and brochures are not available due to COVID, but you can certainly contact our office, and online you can get that information. Strategies that were implemented. We had 2 major cleanup events. We have a community hotline, community meetings with 20 attendees. We've had public hearings, annual report, posting on the web, and viewing via cable access channel. Evaluating, measuring progress, discussion of stormwater related issues in public meetings. 2 fall litter cleanups were held, roadside cleanups were held by the highway department. Not only our highway department, the DOT. 137 bags of garbage were collected during the spring of last year cleanup event sponsored by the town in conjunction with the Somers Litter Task Force, who I have to say has been a driving force in this town, keeping it beautiful. An education of contractors at all construction sites, 5 of them occurred. So there were really only 5 active construction sites in 2020. All outfalls were mapped. That's 564 of them. 256 outfalls were dry weather screened. Building maintenance, parking lots, cross connections, and septic maintenance were targeted for inspection. No illicit discharges were found. Strategies implemented. Stormwater sewer shed mapping has been completed. Information is available via GIS. 50% of the staff in relevant positions and departments have received IDDE training. Town development and adopted a septic system notification of maintenance of repair law was passed, as I mentioned. The number of septic systems cleaned and inspected for the year 2020 calendar year was 1,166. At the beginning of the presentation, I told you we did pass that law. And these are statistics that we get from Westchester County. Now, I will say that that is probably an undercount because Westchester County monitors those companies that deposit waste into their manhole. If a resident uses someone from Putnam County or Connecticut, those pump out numbers do not get translated back to Somers. And that is one reason why we encourage every homeowner, once you get your pump out certificate, your bill, proof that you pumped out your septic, mail it into the building department or stop by and drop it off, and we'll make that part of your permanent file. And we won't be bothering you for another 5 years. Evaluating, measuring progress, number of illicit discharges detected, eliminated is 0 due to staff education, inspection, tracking, and reporting. So we're not finding people, directing waste or anything right into stormwater basins. Reporting and record keeping continues to improve. We are trying to digitize wherever possible. Our stormwater pollution prevention plan review procedures are in place. 9 SWIP reviews during reporting period. Procedures to receive public comments. There were 5 is in place. Contractors are provided with education and training about the local SWIP process. Strategies implemented, 5 construction projects, as mentioned, authorized for disturbance of 1 acre or more. 5 active construction projects disturbing 1 acre or more in the town. It's redundant. All active construction sites were inspected. All active construction sites were inspected more than once. We go out, we look for sediment control. Matter of fact, today, there were a couple of visits by our engineering department where we found some deficiencies that needed to be corrected at 2 sites, so which took place. So next year's report will show at least 2 were found and 2 were corrected. All inspection used and approved plan consistent with the New York State Construction Stormwater Inspection Manual. The public has access to all this information. All construction projects were submitted SWIPs, and the reporting forms used by the engineering department were revised to be consistent with the state reporting forms. Stormwater Control and Association best management practices continues to be a focus regarding project approval. 6 infiltration basins, 4 open channels, 2 ponds, and 10 other practices inspected and maintained in 2020. 256 area catch basins inventoried, inspected, and maintained. Not using GIS to track post-construction best practices. We actually go out there and see them ourselves. Local law, comprehensive planning, zoning, and planning board review procedures have been used to implement low-impact development, better site design elements. Strategies to implement continue. Somers is a member of the Croton-Kensico Watershed Municipal Coalition, which developed a 5-year plan. Regional Stormwater Retrofit Program approved by the New York State DEC, and as a member of the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation, which is an LDC, Local Development Corporation, formed to implement those projects. 144 EOH retrofits were implemented within the town of Somers. So basically what that means is we are getting funding from the EOH. They contributed to the recently completed stormwater retrofit over in Lake Shenorock. And we are looking to do those type of retrofits in our other lake communities. The new catch basin reporting procedure that was previously instituted is still being utilized. New reporting procedures for other stormwater best management practice maintenance should be implemented. Okay, operations, activities, facilities, and self-assessment. These are the categories: street maintenance, winter road maintenance, which we get high marks on every year because of our great highway department clearing our roads, keeping us safe. Salt storage, municipal construction and land disturbance, winter road maintenance, right-of-way maintenance, parks and open space, municipal buildings, stormwater maintenance, vehicle and fleet maintenance, etc. Strategies implemented. 4 parking lots were cleaned with backpack blowers. Sutherland Road was cleaned with backpack blowers, where we have several catch basins. 256 catch basins were cleaned, inspected, and cleaned post-construction control practices. Spot weed control and beds were the only herbicide applications. Last stormwater management training held was November 3rd, 2020. 5 municipal employees received training. 30% of municipal employees who needed training received it. Evaluating measures and progress, reporting procedures for the municipal departments responsible for good housekeeping have been altered to ensure maintenance of town facilities and maintenance activities are accounted for. Highway department is computerized, but would benefit more efficient if data entry occurred in the field. And we are working towards, some handheld tablets so that this reporting could be directly inputted at the site. Okay, so strategies, there they are. I'm not going to go through all of these, but these are the strategies that are implemented. Where first 5-year retrofit program completed. Once again, we've had 214 projects, 144 completed, 3 in construction. That was our first 5-year. Second 5 years, and you can read down these numbers. I won't go through them all. And then turf management program and policy has been instituted. For more information on the Somers Stormwater Program, you can contact our Office of Planning and Engineering. And this concludes the MS4 presentation for Somers. Did I just lose everybody?
No, we're here, but
Still here.
Okay, good.
the screen's frozen or something.
Okay, I'm just trying to rejoin you guys. Okay, sharing, did it stop share? Okay. Good. How about that?
There you go.
Okay,
Thank you, Rick, for doing that.
yeah,
I know in the past, it has been the town planner who has gone through that, and it's an arduous task, and so perhaps it's not a coincidence that she retired as of today. So
And Steve Robbins is listening.
I do have 2 questions. I should know the answer, but I don't, or at least I've forgotten. The inspections that are done there, that's by Steve Wolfel. That's our town engineering department.
yes, Steve and Nick and Steve Rawson actually down at the park. He'll participate in those inspections at the park.
And the clean outs, I guess, are the same thing that
Yep.
we do. So we do those all ourselves since it's our responsibility.
Well, we contract out, I think, for vacuuming out the catch basins
Oh,
because we don't have our own vac truck, but
right.
So
Trying to get one.
a catch basin is, describe a catch basin. I mean, we have areas that just collect water, right? And is that a catch basin? Or are we talking about
No, wait.
sort of sewers and so on.
As a kid walking around, towns, you would see a grate on the side of the road. Everyone
Okay, yeah,
used
I
to
got
call
it.
those sewer.
Right.
No, those are stormwater catch basins.
Okay,
They fill up, with water and transmit stormwater to, wetlands. So, yeah, those are catch basins. And, they're the grates that are
yeah.
horizontal on the roadbeds.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I've seen them there and trying to evacuate leaves and debris out of them.
Yeah, and they silt up, and they need maintenance. So, but at this point, I'd like to move to, I'll make a motion to accept and adopt the 2020 MS4 report.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Aye. So moved. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, the next item on our agenda is our public employer health emergency plan. And this is something I have to give much credit to the committee that worked on this, and especially Kim DeLucia, my executive assistant. And basically what this had to do with, this was an executive, I don't know, I think this was a law that was passed. State labor law was amended that each municipality had to come up with a public employee health emergency plan in case we got into one of these pandemics in the future. I mean, we've all, frankly, I think Somers really has come through this pandemic in an organized fashion. No one can say you did a great job because we still have COVID, but I think we had measures in place where we could reach people at risk. And this public employee has to do actually with each of our employees. And this involved getting the CSEA and the Teamsters to review and approve the emergency plan. So you all should have a copy. If you don't, we will have it at the townhouse, but it goes through who are the essential functions in town during emergencies. I'll just maybe mention some of the top priority ones. Building department, obviously, finance department, that's always a critical department. Highway, certainly. Human resources, information technology, nutrition program. That's one of our high risk community, and those employees there we have to take care of. They serve our senior population. Supervisor's office, office of the town clerk, police department, certainly, water and sewer, in our infrastructure. So those are some of our designated essential offices.
Are there any budgetary aspects to this that we have to keep inventories of PPE or certain types of things?
All of that, yep. It's things we've been doing anyway. So when we put this report together, that's basically what we did. We took our procedures for our PPE. We have to have so much of those on hand. My office is part storeroom at this point. We have hand sanitizer, and down at Parks and Rec, we are keeping our supplies. So I don't see that going away anytime soon. So that's what this plan really calls for, is that you have that on hand. It also calls for if any of these essential people need to be at their job and unable to return home for whatever reason, maybe quarantine, their family's quarantining or whatever, we have to have a plan in place to house them. So, this plan talks about activating the town's shelter over at Heritage Hills. and if need be, putting essential personnel over there for whatever time is needed.
Is there any support from the state, that comes down? This is always just like an unfunded mandate.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
this
yeah,
was-
what?
this-
No, no
Oh,
support.
yeah, it was unfunded mandate. Yeah, this came on the heels of our police reform, which we approved last week and was submitted before the deadline of April 1st. But that was an executive order
Yeah.
that was put upon every municipal building, police department and municipality in New York State. So another Herculean effort by a very dedicated subcommittee of the Somers Community Council worked on that. So once again, I want to thank all those town employees that worked on the plan and our two unions that participated as well. So with that, I'm going to make a motion to approve the Town of Somers Public Employee Health Emergency Plan dated April 1st, 2020.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
So moved. Okay, thank you. Okay, our fourth agenda item, to me is a no-brainer, but I'll certainly up for discussion, is that in the town of Somers, we do not permit open dining. Last year, in an effort to bolster our restaurants in the town who were restricted from indoor dining, we did pass a resolution permitting outdoor dining, which included a number of restaurants putting up tents, which required permits as well. So our resolution did allow for outdoor dining, and you could put up a tent, and normally you would pay a fee, but we waived the fee for putting up a tent. So we weren't allowing outdoor dining, but we're going to collect a fee for the tent. We did not do that. So that resolution expired in November. So I would like to reinstitute that resolution, allowing all restaurants within the confines of Somers to allow for outdoor dining from effective today through, I don't see a lot of, but you know what?
Forever.
I love them. I've seen people outside having cocktails in a tent with a heater. So I'm going to say we do it till January or December 31st, 2021.
Second.
The question, Rick, real
Yes, sir.
quick, when we say the tents, does that go for any other related temporary structures, like a temporary patio? It's not a tent, but it's a temporary, and it's not really a structure either, but
No, yeah. So what I see mostly in town, Bill, is people using outdoor patios,
yeah.
parking areas. They cordon off parking spaces and put tables and things like that.
That's covered.
Yes, it would include that. And our building department, does make the rounds, but there's no paperwork that we're going to hold up someone from operating an outdoor dining.
Right.
And just to follow on, because I like your idea, Rick, about making it for the rest of the year. So we don't have to do this next year. Can this be till, say, the end of 2022?
We could.
I need a
That's-
discussion or thoughts on it.
I would prefer just this year.
Okay.
Things can change in a year. That's just my opinion. I don't know where we'll be a year from now or even in December. So
Yeah, but I thought it a good idea extending it from November through the end of the year.
Certainly, it's been a successful alternative,
Mhm.
as we went through this, and the fact that, we sort of, allowed them to go get this thing set up without dragging them through knotholes of,
Yeah.
of permitting and regulations, and we just sort of, made sure everybody was complying as they were doing it. So, and that was very helpful.
Right.
Well, it's a larger question whether you want to maintain this type of activity in the town on an ongoing basis, though,
Yeah, I
Right,
think
I'm
that-
good with what Rick's saying through the end of the year.
Yeah,
Okay, so I have a second. Any further discussion on it?
I'm good.
Okay. So I have a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we can monitor this as time goes on. Has it been a public good or not? Has it created an inconvenience? Is it
Yeah.
something that we want to consider going past when hopefully a
Yeah.
year from now, the pandemic will have subsided, at least here around us and in this country. And maybe it's something that would be good for the town. Or maybe it's something like, well, it does create an inconvenience in some ways, understandable under the conditions we're currently in, but not going forward. So I think we should monitor it and just see.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna move that. So moved. And yeah, that's.
Hey, Rick?
It's always up for consideration. Yeah.
Rick, where are we now with indoor dining? Are we at 75%?
I don't know. I don't think we're at 75 yet.
No?
No.
Is it 50? I thought it was 50.
Maybe it's 50 then.
I think
Yeah,
Connecticut
it was-
is going full.
Yeah, it was, yeah, I'll tell you, those numbers have been a moving target, the whole year. So I don't know what it is this week, frankly, but, I'm sure you can ask any restaurateur in town and they're gonna let you know.
Yeah, I mean, the limit was the occupancy, right? And then they would split it between indoor and outdoor.
Right, right. So, if you were permitted, because we're all on septic up here, if you were permitted 100 seats, then it was the percentage was based on that.
Right.
And, you had to have 6 feet distance between the tables, so you may not be able to get your percentage that you're allowed.
Right.
So,
It's not a pass to double the occupancy.
no.
No.
But the other thing I will tell you also, is,
increase it, I
I've
should
heard
say.
this from the health department, moving dining outside was never meant to create indoor dining outside. I mean, you see many tents with sides on it and
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
heaters
true.
inside. What you've created is an indoor dining experience like an incubator
Yes.
with heaters in there. It should have open sides for ventilation. So
Yeah, that's
Good
just
point.
word to
well,
the
that's
wise.
something we should look at if we're going to have this outdoor dining. Should that be something in the regulation? There has to be at least one or two open, because I wouldn't go into a tent myself.
No.
At this point, is that something we should consider?
They do. When our building inspectors go around, that's what they're
Oh.
looking for.
Oh, okay, good.
Mhm.
Not only, volume of people indoors or outdoors, and it's, mostly complaint generated, as all code enforcement is basically based on complaints.
I'm just looking here at the latest thing I found was 50%.
Yeah, no, I looked it up too. It's 50%.
Yeah. They're hoping for 75.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, next agenda item is our phone system for the town buildings. These are all of our buildings. Apparently, we've have antiquated wiring that we've had to do some patchwork in the annex and the townhouse. And it begged the question, I guess Light Path we have with the county, they are no longer going to be supporting going forward any new connections and are kind of moving away from the service they provide us. So this is the time we started looking to modernize our phone system. So we've had our IT department in Tammy and Ray Maggi, our IT consultant, and Denise Schirmer, who helps out with building maintenance and infrastructure. And they've, come up with this report. And once again, we are, we don't want to work in a vacuum either. That's why this is up for discussion tonight. I'm not asking to select a provider or anything else. I just want to bring this situation to your attention. And Councilman Sirico, I thought you said you had some ideas regarding this.
Well, I read the proposal. They were proposing to do some sort of a hybrid, but my thoughts are that this is an opportune time to, interview and consider a full, maybe cloud-based PBX, which would connect all our facilities and would make it a software-defined, experience. I mean, something that's where the industry is going to. This is why the current vendor is sort of, stopped, taking on new types of increase in service. And, from our point of view, we're trying to look for efficiencies and automate workflow and the like.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine being able to connect, the library, the highway department, the annexes, and the administrative buildings all in one software defined setting. You would have, we'd be able to do things like this, video calls. Your computers would basically be your phones, and you could text one another. If you have, from an emergency planning point of view, you could work from home. You can authenticate yourself, and now you're in the office, right? And so answer phones and like as you were at your desk. But beyond that, I think it just takes some sort of a review process. Maybe have Ray and some of the other guys bring in some vendors and talk about this. I mean, Microsoft Teams do this. There are also Verizon and AT&T. They are moving in this direction, so they have product offerings in that space. IBM. I mean, I think it begs we should take a look at it.
Okay, so you were talking about a cloud-based system. What you mentioned some initials there, BPS or what was that?
No, like you're on a PBX where you're programming this in a piece of equipment, but this is a software-defined thing where you would actually buy a service from somebody. It could be like IBM, it could be like Microsoft, it could be Verizon and like, and it's a system where you program in all the numbers. You have the ability to text and connect computers.
I mean,
send calls to your phones or your mobile phones and the like.
now does it get away from your landline?
No, but your landline becomes your Cat5 line that connects to your computer. It's all like one port and everything's on it. And that's where you have to have Ray and those guys take a look at it instead of trying to connect traditional wires up to your phones. The question is, can you just operate these off of, all the existing modernized connections?
It sounds like almost like a cost-effective measure instead of going through the antiquated rewiring of,
Right.
I've been waiting 7 years to get a cable run up to my office so I could have a cable TV set up. But, it became cost prohibitive because those lines are not there now.
It just begs the question to take a look at it, I think.
Right. So if I could, I'd like you to maybe get it. I know through your telecommunications task force, you're talking to Tammy, who is an integral part of putting this.
I didn't mean to volunteer, but now I'm stepping back.
All you need to do is give them the names Microsoft, Verizon, IBM, how they can connect, and maybe we'll have them come in and do presentations.
Okay.
To the board.
I mean, all that is good. The obvious question is, what's the cost, obviously, and in a power outage, is this any advantage or disadvantage compared to how we're doing it now, even if it is antiquated? But that would be an interesting sort of thing. Whatever we do, it should be looking with an eye, not just to this year, next year, but far into the future, as businesses would do. And we've been talking about a lot of ways to connect more and make things more efficient. So as I think we were talking last week to somebody about how we literally will sometimes drive paper from one side of the town where there's an office to another side of the town where there's an office in order to get things done, which is just kind of crazy. So yeah, I think Anthony, you volunteered. I think this is great by you.
Yeah, no,
But I think it'd be a good idea for the system. Could you imagine sitting at your desk and seeing the building department if they're there or not?
well, they better
The
not.
library, you know?
They should be out in the field. I don't want to see them in their office.
Well, you'd
All
be
right,
able
so,
to read them in the field.
Yeah, I appreciate that input, and yeah, we'll carry this as an agenda item because we do have to make a decision sooner or later, and we want to
You know,
make the right decision.
The county may be moving in this direction as a result as well. I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
yep. Is maybe this something that lends itself to shared services?
Yeah.
You know. So okay, we're gonna look into this a little further. Okay. Moving right along. So signage, multi-occupancy property discussion. So this has to do with our building department and going through our zoning code. And he's calling for the need for this requirement is not necessarily as to pertain, oh no, excuse me, that's not the signage. Here it is. Okay, so all multi-occupancy structure feature multiple doors or windows on a common exterior wall shall be displayed in each unit identifying designation, such as 355A or 2A, 2B on the rear of said structure near the door as follows. So they want these designations, like, look, all of us have our numbers of our street. You have to post it conspicuously from the street. It's got to be able to be read. So what the building department is, the Fire Prevention Bureau actually is proposing, the manner in which they are displayed shall be universally applied to all units in the development community. Exceptions whereas new construction practices or designs allow for improved visibility by utilizing alternate locations. All numbers, and basically we're talking about multi-occupancy residential or commercial structures. Basically this is affecting, Heritage Hills. All numbers should be at least 4 inches in height. That's part of our code. Whichever is greater, and be located at least 4 feet above the ground at a grade approximately 6 feet above the door sill on subsequent floors. The color of said numbers shall be in sharp contrast to the color of their background. When practicable, the numbers should be placed near a light so that they may be readily seen at night. If the numbers are not illuminated, they should be reflective. All multi-occupancy residential or commercial structure featuring common exterior walls and multiple utility meters, regulators, or other hookups, connections shall have each connection to a meter labeled in such a manner as to allow for a quick and easy identification as to which unit they are servicing or connected to. We respectfully request you consider this addition to the code of the town of Somers. So this is just step one of the discussion. From here, we would move on, rolling right to a public hearing.
Right.
This would be, and some of the background on this is, for some reason, the West Hill of Heritage began adding, besides having their condos listed with 3 digits and a letter, they added street names. And, listing their legal residence, 355 Columbine, or 361, or 3 this. And emergency services has been experiencing difficulties responding at some of those addresses,
Well,
because none of these streets ever went through the required procedures in town, where we've been through this a number of times, where, a developer comes in and requests certain names for their streets. Now they get referred out to the building department, highway, and police and engineering for their input. So none of these streets ever came before them. So it has created an issue up there. And I believe this is why they want to amend the code by including these recommendations. So,
Hey, one question.
Yeah.
They say 4-inch numbers on this. And remember a while ago, we saw, I think from the fire commissioners or some of them, Fire Prevention Bureau, 6-inch numbers, which actually I went to Home Depot. I couldn't find 6-inch numbers. I found 5.5, which is the closest I could get. Are they on board with this, or I mean, does it matter, or did they weigh in like, okay, 4-inch, we'll deal with 4-inch?
Right. Well, that's why, that's part of the public hearing process.
Okay, we'll send it out then to them.
Right. This is our Fire Prevention Bureau that is making these recommendations. And the fire department does sit on the Fire Prevention Bureau.
Yeah. So
So-
they'll have a chance to weigh in.
Yep. And they have, that's these 1, 2, 3, 4 amendments are what they're asking for. So why don't we schedule a public hearing on this issue for May 13th? And, we'll do publishing and posting and get that out. And, Patty, if you don't have these amendments yet, we'll make sure Tommy gets those over to you.
And to
Okay,
me as well, Rick, so I can draft the local law.
sure. Very good. Hey, we're almost halfway through our agenda tonight. Proposed code modification, groundwater protection overlay district discussion. In a nutshell, included in the prohibition of fossil fuels in the groundwater protection overlay district is propane tanks. So the need for this requirement it's not necessary as it pertains to liquid propane, as it is non-toxic, non-caustic, and will not create an environmental hazard if released as a liquid or vapor into the water or soil. And would and the building department's requesting that the town board modify this section of our groundwater code to read the storage of hydrocarbon products excluding liquid propane. Except those necessary for residential use in homes and vehicles and commercial use in buildings and vehicles, provided that such products are stored in appropriate containers. The prohibition use would still apply to hydrocarbons such as diesel, oil, and gas.
Is it
So-
consistent with like New York State law?
Yeah.
Would be, that change would be consistent with New York State and.
Yeah, I think we're more restrictive in our groundwater overlay district. And with the move towards, at least with generators, we opted for a propane generator. We're doing the same at our emergency shelter. So as we're burying, a 1,000-gallon tank over at Heritage for the new generator, it's prohibited under the current code. And this will allow us to be able to do that.
Good.
So,
Seems logical.
Yep.
we'll schedule a public hearing on that.
Well, this is a little more complicated because it's an amendment to the zoning code.
Yes,
So
it is.
the first thing you'd have to do is refer it to your planning board and to the county planning board.
Yeah, okay, right.
Okay.
And whoever is doing the work of the planner now would need to prepare an EAF.
Okay, and I think at the last meeting, we took on Woodward and Curran, who is going to cover they will be
Planning?
our town planners.
So they
Focus.
need to prepare the EAF then.
Okay. Okay, for planning board and county planning board.
I'm looking at a letter here to the building department. I just wonder if this is something that's going to be added to it or it's not necessary. This is from a fellow representing a propane company. So the one thing I will say is a propane tank buried in a wet area should be tied down to a concrete slab. That's it's universally a common practice. It's up to the building department, basically says. Is that something that's part of this or no?
So an empty one floats? Is that
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Funny you mentioned that. I was talking to someone who had just had his propane tanks buried, covered up. I had a torrential rainstorm the night before. When he came out in the morning, one of the tanks was up like this
Huh.
because they hadn't filled it with propane yet. So that's a good suggestion.
And Tony thought it was a joke.
No, I saw it too. I mean, I read it.
Really?
Also. Yeah.
I thought it was a joke.
No, I mean, I read it also,
but
but I thought it would just be matter of practice. I didn't just bring it up.
oh, well, that's what the guy says. It's universally, it's a common practice. Said, but it's up really to the building department, he says here. But so, yeah, I guess we should then.
You should do that. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's add that to our code. Grounding of the tank. Okay, so, all right, so Roland, we will refer this out. And then when we get a response back, we'll schedule the public hearing.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Okay, our next agenda item is Building Department Software Assistance Professional Services Proposal. This is from Barden and Logis. And the board has met with them. The purpose here is to have this engineering firm work for 6 months alongside our building department to get them integrated into Unicity, which is a software program that is used by our engineering and highway department. And it's a way to track permits and COs. And they would be working on workflow at our building department. We're pretty confident that, based on the proposal that we received from them and their scope of work and the way they're going to approach this. And as you all know, we are in the process of looking for a new office manager for our building department. So the timing is very good to get, if someone outside agency is going to come in, not only working on automating their paper records, but also be working with workflow. And, hopefully over the next 6 months, we will have an office manager that will come in to a process that they can be part of and be co-opted into. So I'm going to make a motion that we accept the proposal from Barton and Lugis for their consulting services for the next 6 months for a total fee of $25,000.
Second.
Right, do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Thank you, gentlemen. And we'll probably get them on board May 1st as when their proposal comes in, contract comes in, we'll sign it for May 1st. Okay, so we started the night with some exciting news. The addition of Article 24 to Somers Town Code establishing regulations pertaining to the retail sale of marijuana in the town of Somers. This was a discussion item last year when we got wind that the state was getting ready to legalize the recreational use of marijuana. We thought that we're in the midst of a drug crisis not only in Somers, but in the county and the state. We are experiencing in town, this is not next to our town, or it's not in New York City. We're experiencing young people overdosing almost on a monthly basis. It's a scary proposition. And there's a lot of arguments around whether marijuana is a gateway drug or not. But I believe the collective thought of this town board last year was, we can't control what the state does as far as approving or legalizing recreational use, but we could prohibit the sale of it in our town. So the approach we took was, okay, we drafted legislation which would preclude it in our neighborhood shopping zones, which are mostly our retail areas. So with that introduction, I'm going to turn this over to our town attorney, who, after reviewing this most recent legislation, it's a little different than what we reacted to. So Roland, if you would.
Sure. So the version of the law signed by the governor yesterday actually provides for an opt-out provision by local municipalities, where a local municipality can adopt a local law subject to permissive referendum, which in effect would say retail sales are prohibited, and the creation of these lounges where you could actually sit and smoke would also be prohibited. And that's the extent of the prohibitions that are allowed under the opt-out provision. So if the board is inclined to go that direction, and I think a number of other of your neighbors are leaning the same way, I suspect that the town's attorneys in those towns and myself will get together and draft a pretty standard standalone law, which every town board that wants to do this will then consider, so that there's some uniformity among Northern Westchester locations opting out. And I would expect we probably would have that public hearing. I'm thinking September. It may be sooner, but certainly by September. We're allowed to do it up and through the end of the year, but I don't think we want to wait that long.
So when does this law take effect, Roland? Yes.
It would take effect immediately.
No, I'm talking about what the governor signed.
Oh, that it took effect yesterday.
But they were talking about 2022, right? For some
Well,
sort of,
the law is effective now,
right,
but various provisions in the law require a control board to be set up.
right.
And there's a whole
Yeah.
process that the state has to go through. So they don't anticipate, I think I read the earliest that there could possibly be retail sales would be next April of 2022, more likely even later than that.
Mhm.
But the town's ability to opt out expires at the end of this year. So certainly we're going to get it done before then.
Okay.
Okay. So then we're going to put this issue in your trusted hands to talk to your compadres in other towns,
Yep.
and hopefully, July or August, maybe present something that's
Yeah.
uniform for the towns. That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'd like-
Roland,
Thanks,
the
Roland.
new,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead,
The-
Richard. I'll just follow you.
Okay, thank you. The new law is different than the law we spoke about last year, which allowed cities of 100,000 or more or counties to opt out. This applies to every municipality, a town, a village, as well
Yes.
as counties or cities.
Yes, it's not tied to population. It's every municipality.
Right, so that could be really a checkerboard full of regulations and opt-outs and opt-ins, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So,
And
Yeah.
the opt-ins are going to get people from all the towns that live in opted out towns. So those who stay in the program are going to see a lot of new faces in their retail areas.
which in some cases they will welcome, I
Maybe.
guess, with the
Yeah.
increase in business. But
Well, Greenwich
you know,
Village
I certainly would
probably
say
would.
we want to wait
Yeah.
to see how this thing works out. That's my opinion.
Sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, this goes beyond the decriminalization of the substance. They're creating a marketing plan, essentially legalizing it, the distribution, the retail, the agricultural part of this, and they're trying to collect, revenues on it. At a local level, I'm certain from the folks that I've talked to in the school districts and so on, and most local municipalities they're just reticent to do this. They're against it because they're dealing with the
Yeah.
issues of substance abuse at the local level. I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road. It's almost like an unfunded mandate because at some level they're trying to create a business and we're going to have to, deal with it. Now, it makes it more complicated when we're just, trying to manage alcohol, opioids, and the like.
And what's the driving force behind this? Certainly, it's a revenue generating program for all the reasons you just spoke about. But it's an ill-conceived law. Look, if overdose deaths and drug use dropped off the map, that's a different story. And if this is clearly just revenue generating for generating reasons, there's a myriad of other ways to generate revenue. Look, the federal government just gave New York State a bailout. We're getting, 2-point-something million dollars in funding.
To me, even the revenue argument doesn't make sense. I almost find it insulting. $300 million on a $200 billion budget. That's like 0.3%. It's not even 1%. So they're trying to raise $300 million and they're going to, give a certain portion of that back to sort of help remediate some of the substance abuse issues that might happen around that. Just doesn't make any sense. This doesn't make any sense.
I'm recalling Rick's statistics from previous conversations. Okay, it may generate $100 million, but it's going to cost $400 million in ancillary expenses, law enforcement, ambulance, fly cars, number of calls, hospital visits, all these things. Ill-conceived, yes. It's kind of.
Well, yeah, to that point, you have $300 million and you have to put it in a whole administrative structure, a sort of a cannabis czar that's going to manage a whole separate chain of regulatory aspects of this. And it's not going to make the illegal part go away. There are still going to be black markets for all of this stuff. There's going to be, whatever.
Well, there are people, of course, who would differ with us and who think that it's basically less harmful than alcohol, and that people have been prosecuted wrongly for what is not a major issue. That's why I say I'll wait and see what the statistics are, what happens as a result. I mean, look, you had Amsterdam, who even cracked down on the legality of various substances there. Alaska had tried this years ago, had to reinstitute a stricter regulation because of the percentage of younger people who were engaged in smoking. And as I've said many times, my point of view is the message. Since for 40 years I've worked with high school students, and to give them the message that, oh, wait a minute, everything we've been telling you, I forget that it's legal. I do worry about that, as I know all of us do. And I said many times, the argument that we should do this just to raise revenue is, I think, as Anthony said, that's insulting. Like, there's other ways to do it. So we're going to get people to buy stuff that may not be good for them, so we can raise more taxes on that. It just doesn't make sense to me. But it is a social experiment. I'll wait to see what the results are. But right now, I'm certainly against it, and I know I'm on the fringe, on one end of this issue, along with other issues like drinking and things like that. I recognize that, and there are people who differ with me, but I feel very strong about this right now.
I would say that I look at it that you can decriminalize it. That's one, and I'm like almost ambivalent. You can make it legal, and then you can start marketing it and build a business around it. I mean, we're building a business around it. The state is supporting that. I mean, if they were just to decriminalize it and say we're not going to be throwing people in jail for small amounts and clog the courts up, and just deal with putting money into educating kids and children and men and women, fine. You want to grow a cannabis plant yourself, grow it, fine. But to go try to put a whole business structure in place to promote it and drive it to raise revenue, to me, that's just
the argument about that
trying to get around it.
If you decriminalize it, who's going to be selling it? It's people who do not have pure motives, to say the least, and there's no regulatory ability to control it. It's distribution, the percentage of active ingredients in it, the strength and all that. I suppose that's the argument on the other side. If you're going to decriminalize it, that's why you want to go and have the ability to regulate where it gets sold, who sells it, and the factors involved. But wow, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, we have a path. Roland and crew will put their heads together and come up with something that's we can, for our consideration, sooner than later.
Yep.
Well, the process is going to be a little extended, right? Because we have to go through this whole adjustment. You think September is going to be the date to get this done?
Maybe earlier, but September at the latest.
Because then we start a public hearing process, and I truly believe this is an issue, as someone mentioned. There are probably a lot of people out there that think this is a great idea.
I get that.
Well, they won.
Yeah. So let's keep our eye on this, and Roland, when you guys are ready, please bring it back.
Okay.
To the board. We'll take action. All right. Agenda item number 10. Acknowledge completion and receipt of the Town Justice Court audit by our certified public accountants, O'Connor Davies, in accordance with section 2019A of the Uniform Justice Court Act for the year ending December 31st. And they have been in compliance, and we can move that to the consensus agenda. Award bid number 11, award the bid and authorize the supervisor to execute the contract for the installation of 2 dual electric vehicle charging stations, one to be placed at Van Tassel, the other at the police station in the amount of $30,939 with NIF Associates per memo dated March 9th from Tom Tuma, Building Inspector. You know, this process has been going on for about 2.5 years. This is through our NYSERDA grant. And so this is going to be a good experiment for us. We're going to have, these are going to be dual electric charging stations, which means, you know, not only a town vehicle can charge off it, but someone from the general public, you know, will be able to access electricity. And look, let's see if cars line up to do this. Maybe coincidentally, the planning board is looking at the issue of there are companies that want to come in and install a number of electric charging stations, let's say at Somers, not Commons, the center, Somers Community Center. And so we really want to just, you know, take a look at that. If you put in a charging station and it takes does that subtract a parking space from the overall site plan? Or can you park in it, if you don't have electric vehicle, can you park in that space? So we just want to, you know, move ahead with this smartly, and having a couple of our own of these, you know, would be, you know, a good start for us. Okay, I see Rich Williams.
Cars here? Are we going to charge our own cars, or we're going to allow?
Yeah, no, they're for, we can.
For us.
When's it?
One for us and one for the public.
Right.
One for the public, and who pays? So
They pay for it.
they'll pay for it. There's some sort of a meter on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see Rich Williams is on. Are you here for, let's see.
I think artists.
I am here for artists. I was let in a little early, and only if you need me to be.
Okay. All right, well, yeah, well, you know what, when I get there,
It's only, it's
call
only
upon
one
you to
away.
give us an overview. Okay, so we'll, I'll make a motion to award the bid.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion? So moved. Okay, so let's go to item.
Do you want to just
13,
do the
which-
Reynolds house real quick?
Yeah, all right, that's a no-brainer. Authorize, award the bid, authorize the supervisor to execute a contract for the installation of HVAC at the Reynolds House in the amount of $49,747 with APA per memo dated March 9th from Tom Tuma, Building Inspector. I'd make a motion to
Second.
award that bid.
Is that
Second.
just one question first? Can I
Sure.
ask? The money, the 49,000, is that coming out of that 100,000 originally from
No.
the Parks Recreation?
No, this is actually through a grant through Senator Harkin's office.
Oh, okay, right.
You know, that his first term, he awarded
Yes, it
us,
does take a while.
Yeah, it does take a while. So, yeah,
But
we
there
want
is
to get,
still money left.
yeah,
from
there
that
is. There's about
$100,000.
$30,000 left. in
Yeah,
there.
okay, that's what I was thinking.
But this HVAC has been holding us up.
Yeah, I got you.
We can't close the walls in. So once this gets installed, we should see a lot of action down there. And
There's a lot of trucks down there, I'll tell you that.
yeah, well, they're doing work for free. So that's kind of the deal we have with them down there. They rebuilt the stone entranceways. What I've noticed, they put field stone around the foundation. So yeah, the Reynolds house keeps looking better and better, but I want it done. I want to get it.
Yes, get it done, right.
Okay, so we moved that, correct? I said all in
I don't think
favor.
we voted on it.
Yeah, okay, good, boom. Okay, the item 13, authorize supervisor to execute the public water main easement agreement between Artis Senior Living Holding and Somers LLC and the town of Somers. So Rich, why don't you give us an overview of this authorization?
Sure. I'll just share out my screen just so everyone can see what we're talking about.
Sure.
Artis Senior Living, under construction right now on the corner of Mayapack Avenue and Route 6, diagonally across from the Tool Nut. As part of the project, the health department, after we were under construction, told us that we had to make our on-site water service a public main because the RPZs are constructed inside the building. And they want to make sure that there's no possible contaminants that can get into the water service line for this facility. What's really driving that is the fact that we have a hydrant on site. The fire department had requested the hydrant. We put it in as part of the site plan. That hydrant has the ability to let contaminants into a main. So they want to make sure the town owns the hydrant because it's a possible contamination source. We reviewed this with Adam and with Steve Robbins. They didn't object. We drafted the easement agreement through our project attorney, Peter Wise. The agreement's written so that even though the town will own this section of the water line in an easement, we are completely responsible for any maintenance that occurs.
How is it a possible source of contamination?
So if someone goes and opens a hydrant, no different than any public street, and connects a hose to it and puts the hose in a puddle of mud and they don't close the hydrant right, or hydraulic conditions occur where there's a suction on that line, you can actually pull the contaminated water into the main.
Interesting.
Rich, that's why when you load up like, the trucks with water, most of those large trucks have the backflow, right? To attach to the hydrant, so there is no backflow in.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And we have backflow preventers in the building, but it all comes down to this one hydrant that the fire department had requested as a possible, the health department identified it as a contamination source.
Okay, so this is a situation of a necessary evil. You can't do away the fire hydrant, but it comes with certain requirements.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Okay, so Rich, I'm going to ask you, we were going to put this on a consensus agenda for next week. Is this timely? You need us to move it tonight?
I think we're fine next week. If you're willing to move it tonight, I'm sure artists would be appreciative of that.
Okay.
Do it.
Just had one question. If it's going to be owned by the town but maintained by the property owners, what happens if it ever needs to be replaced many years from now, or if there's a severe rupture or breach? Who's responsible for that?
Artis Senior Living is.
For both?
For, yep, all conditions, maintenance, replacement, any work on the line.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Look, we're business friendly in this town. Let's help artists out. I'll make a motion to authorize the supervisor to execute the public water main easement agreement.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. And thanks, Rich, for the update.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
See you, Rich.
Thanks, bye.
Rich, less overtime for you now.
Rick, can you just go back to number 12? And we had a second. Can we just finish the vote?
Oh, I thought we did.
Yeah, we
Okay.
didn't do that vote, did we?
Okay, so we have a second. All in favor of the HVAC at Reynolds House?
Aye.
Award?
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Ayes there.
Aye.
Thank you, Patty. Okay, which brings us to financial, authorize 2020 general fund budget transfer per March 5th memo from Robert Kehoe, Director of Finance. We can put that over to the consensus agenda. If you haven't had a chance to review that. Personnel, current vacancies on our affordable housing, architectural review, Parks and Recreation, Partners in Prevention. Acknowledge the retirement of Saret Dim as the Director of Planning for the Planning and Engineering Department for the past 9 years, effective March 31st. I'm gonna miss Saret. I've dealt very closely with her, obviously, over the last 7 years. She is the consummate professional, and her knowledge and contacts with other planners throughout the county has really benefited our town. So we're grateful for time we had her and wish her nothing but the best in her retirement.
Yeah, I want to say that she was a great person to work with. I learned a lot from her. She's very accessible, questions and you kind of think back the 9 years that she was in that spot. I mean, of all the projects that were accomplished during that period of time. The Chico's, all of Route 6.
Planned Hamlet, yeah.
Planned Hamlet,
Well,
and the like.
She started as part-time,
Right.
and we moved up to full-time, and fortunately, she was able to accommodate that, and she'll be missed.
And let me just add, I think she was a professional right up to the end. I mean, literally yesterday, over the last couple of days, I've had conversations with her, and a simple question like, before you go, I got a question, and the length and thoughtfulness of the answers really impressed me. And it just showed, she's leaving Somers. I mean, she's already out of Somers, but she cares about the work that she's done, and she cares about the future of the town. And she and I had even talked about at the request of the supervisor at the time, I interviewed her down at the Mount Kisco Diner, and we were kind of talking about from that to now, and all the things that she's seen in town and all the things that she's done. So, but I was really impressed, and by right up until the last moment, she's still thinking about things that she could have just kind of said, well, yeah, okay, yeah, do it. But she didn't. She gave a lot of thoughtful advice, and I appreciated that very much.
Yeah.
So, Rich, I'm going to extend her last moment anytime I can. I have her mobile number.
That's it. Keep bugging her.
Saret, you told me this, and now it's that.
Well, I did not let her leave. I did not let her leave without an offer from her to assist us anytime we needed her assistance. We could, contact her, hire her as a consultant. I mentioned this to Woodward and Curran, that for a seamless transition, if they want to bring her in for some consultation over the next year, because really what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for the town, is, look, we had that spurt. The planned Hamlet came into fruition after, being approved in 1994. The economics were there. Things happened. Went to a full-time planner. I do see things slowing down now. So do we really need a full-time planner? And that's what we hope to gain over this next, 10 months with Woodward and Curran coming on board to direct the planning department. So, Saret, best of luck, and maybe we will be calling you. You never know. Next item here is authorize the reappointment of John Papalata to the Somers Parks. Papalia.
Right.
I'm great on names. Recreation Board to a 3-year term ending March 9th, 2024. Authorize the reappointment of Kevin Westerman to the Somers Parks and Recreation Board to a 3-year term ending March 9th, 2024. We just recently authorized Kevin to continue as the chair, so we might as well make sure he continues as a board member. But Kevin's doing a great job down there, and thank you. And then authorize the reappointment of Rich Nash to our Somers Architectural Review Board. to a 3-year term ending March 31st, 2024. So for items 3 through 6, I'd like to just move them to the consensus agenda for next week.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, brings us to the proposed consensus agenda. We have 2 items there. So if there's any discussion or concerns about those,
Nope.
okay. All right, so next week is going to be busy public hearing week. We're going to have public hearing for the placement of stop signs at Warren Street and Hackalaya Brown Drive and Westridge Drive and Lovell Street. That's the western exit and entrance into Heritage Hills. So we'll see how that public hearing turns out. Public hearing via remote access proposed Comcast franchise agreement between the town of Somers and Comcast. So this really just affects Heritage Hills. Anthony and myself have met with the Heritage Hills Comcast committee to kind of hammer out. We included a lot of their suggestions into this new franchise agreement. And this is part of the process, and we'll see how that public hearing goes.
Do we anticipate a representative of Comcast to be with us or no?
I don't. I could certainly invite a representative.
Yeah, that would be interesting to do.
Yeah, get Matt Skane.
Ask Gloria as well. Gloria Anderson, who did all the legal work.
Okay.
You can probably just. I mean, it was a good collaboration. I mean, I think we're almost getting the reputation of monopoly busters. I mean, these guys actually extracted, concessions from them that we're able to negotiate out of them. That is very hard to do with, with a monopoly type of organization like that. They're held captive.
Yeah. And until we get some kind of a wireless solution, no other company's going to come in there and buy all that cabling that's underground.
No.
It's just not cost effective, unfortunately. Okay, so we now move on to the entertainment section of our town board meeting.
You want to close the public hearing first, Rick?
I'll close public comment.
Public comment, sorry.
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
Okay.
Is there anyone else out there, Paul, for public comment?
No, I don't have anybody at this time, guys.
Okay, Patty, Tom, anybody?
Nope, nothing.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll get back to face-to-face meetings within the next 6 months. And we will get to see some of the public once again. So I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so moved. We'll close public comment. Now we move on to our entertainment section. And I'd like to call on our newly awarded town clerk recertification to lead us in our announcements.
Well, it's a fun day.
It's a fun day. She's
And
gonna fool us.
I'm going to start with the Somers Litter Task Force is going to do a monthly weekend cleanup of the town of Somers. So their first one will be Saturday, April 10th and Sunday, April 11th. They're going to clean up Route 100 and their mission is to clean all of Route 100 in those 2 days. Volunteers are needed. People can call 914-486-0355 if you're willing to volunteer. And supplies are available at the Somers Town Hall Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. This is a very special day in Somers history. April 1st is it all has to do with the circus stamp. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold it up.
Yeah, there it is.
So on January 2nd of 1966, the post office announced that the 5-cent circus stamp will be released on May 2nd, 1966 in Devlin, Ohio, in Wisconsin. I'm sorry. Oof. Well, that brought a big fight from the town of Somers, took on the Department of Post Office in Washington, D.C. And they had a petition that was not supported by the Postmaster General, although he made 2 concessions. The first was Somers was given a special cancellation, which again, I'm going to hold my stamp up. And you can see where that says.
Yep.
So, and then we have the Cradle of the American Circus. We were awarded that for 6 months. And we were the first to unveil the stamp on April 1st. It was just the unveiling. But then on May 2nd, 1966, somebody flew to Wisconsin, bought the stamps from the first day, and brought them back and had them postmarked here in Somers on May 2nd, 1966. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep, you can see it actually.
Yeah, we can. Show and tell. I love it.
I was given this is a cover of the first day stamp on my
Wow.
40th birthday when this was 50 years old.
Great.
Last year.
So that is how we became the cradle of the American circus, and Wisconsin became the birthplace.
Yeah, well, in Wisconsin, they were claiming because the circus wintered there, that's why they claimed, that they were the circus entity that should be acknowledged. But, and it was Otto Kagel who said, hey, look, Barnum and Bailey, and the menagerie, all started here in Somers. So if it wasn't for him fighting our battle, we wouldn't have that moniker now, the cradle of the American circus. So thank you, Otto.
And here's a quote I have. I'm just going to end with this quote from Otto Kagel, that there is no doubt that the big circus outfit grew in Wisconsin, but they developed from innovations in Somers long before people had any idea of a 3-wing circus.
Here, here.
And my last announcement for today is our fabulous Somers Tuskers won 31-0 over Our Lady of Lords.
Here, here. Go Tuskers.
Awesome.
Coached by Patty's son, Michael.
And
Assistant.
I'll tell you, I feel so bad for a lot of the sports athletes, especially, Somers seniors, whose season has been condensed down to about 6 games. And they're playing, in April, not through the fall months. But hey, look, they're playing. And,
Yeah.
Coach DiMatteo is out there bringing us a win after win. This is, 3 in a row now, right?
Yep, Brewster and Mayapack.
Right.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
Okay, well, I'm going to end the meeting where we started. We're Somers strong. You got to keep up the good work, wear masks, wash your hands, social distance, and be safe. And with that, I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Have a nice Easter,
Happy
everybody.
Easter.
Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Have a good Easter, everyone. Thank you.
Happy Easter from all of us to you. So I'll make a motion to
Second.
adjourn.
Say,
All in favor?
all right.
Aye. Good night, Somers.